Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Today on the table in front of us, we've got just a really good pocket knife. This is the new Spartan Astor. This is part of their new budget line. And, of course, when I say budget, it's, $140 or so. But compared to the price of other Spartan knives, that is a budget value. It is CTS XHP steel. It is XHP steel. I can't say that right sometimes. Sorry about that. It is a beautiful design by Les George, brought to life by the folks at Spartan. This landed when I was not feeling well, and it brought a real bit of joy to me in that moment because it is a superbly comfortable and well-made pocket knife. So let's talk about what you get. Well, this version happens to be their carbon fiber, and their carbon fiber has texture, which is really nice. It's not grippy like G10, but it's not smooth like other carbon fibers. It is a liner lock, as you can see, and we're at just about 35% lockup. It is a steel liner on this side. It is only carbon fiber on this side, but it is a nice thick chunk of carbon fiber. There's no wiggle. You can't bend this thing at all. The pivot is very nice. It is big and sort of pretty. It is a T15. The rest of the screws are T6. It has a very nice deep carry pocket clip. It has a lanyard hole if you're into that sort of thing. It is reversible, as you can see. You can take the clip off, remove this little plate, and flip it over for left-hand carry, which is very nice. And of course, it has that beautiful Les George designed blade. I love this thing. I've had some of my favorite knives are Les George designs, so I was really excited to get this thing in hand. You got a little jimping down here to keep your pinky in place. And the jimping on the blade is, well, just perfect if you're going to push in that way. And of course, the blade itself is shaped beautifully if you're going to draw back. It has, well, let's see. It's got phosphor bronze washers on top of basically plastic washers, nylon washers, or the other way around. I think it was nylon and then, anyway, there's 4 washers in this thing, 2 nylon, 2 phosphor bronze, and then in the pivot itself is a copper or brass fitting that they call their oil-infused, it's oil-infused bushing of some sort. Now, I haven't taken this apart, but I have seen them apart. And there is, in fact, a press-fit piece in there. So the blade itself doesn't ride steel on steel. It rides on a bushing on the inside of the blade, which is very, very cool. Now, that's a new thing. I don't know how well that's going to last over time, but we're going to find out because this is a permanent part of the collection. I love advances in technology. Anyway, what do you get? Well, like I said, you get CTS XHP steel, and I got to tell you, I have never in all of my knife collecting, and this is rare, found somebody who has things to complain about with CTS XHP. It is, in fact, one of my favorite steels. I have a number of knives in that steel, and the blade steel is both really, really stain and rust resistant, and it holds an edge really, really well. And in the end, that's what matters, right? So it's cool that they're doing that. It's a good size knife. Some people are going to think it's a little big and a little heavy, but for me, for my hand, which again, guys, I got big hands, so take that with the grain of salt it deserves. It is really exceptionally comfortable. That's Les George, though. He designs a very, very comfortable handle. I really enjoy his stuff. So let's do some size comparisons. Well, I've got it up here on the table. I mean, what else are we going to do, right? That's what we do. Let's go ahead and line it up just for fun. Here it is against the Mini Presidio 2, which is my new small knife comparison tool. As you can see, it is much bigger. Again, I'd like to remind you that this is very similar in size to the Bug Out, so that will help you understand where we are with that. Here it is against the Ritter Hogue, but most of you know this as the Griptilian, and this, of course, is the full-size grip. And you can see these knives are very, very similar in size, but you get more cutting area on the Astor, which is very, very cool. Here it is against the Presidio 2 full size. Now this is a big knife, and It is a little bit bigger than the Astor, but not much. And the blade is very close. You get a tiny bit more cutting, I think, on the... No? They're almost exactly the same. So what you get is a lot more handle on the Presidio here. And finally, our old friend, the Rat Model 1, because a lot of you have these. There you go. So the Astor is not a small knife, which is very nice, because other than the ZT-0920, which is one of my other Les Georges, a lot of Les George knives tend to be sort of compact. So it was really nice that this thing came in the box and was, in fact, for me, a full-size, well, let's call it a large mid-size knife. That's been very, very nice. Let's get the actual specs out of the way while we've got it sitting here on the cute little squares. You get 1, 2, 3.5 inches on just over 3.5 inches of cutting, just over 3.5 inches of CTS XHP steel. The grip area from behind the swell, 1, 2, 3, 4, just shy of 4 full inches. So plenty of grip, right, with a little sticking out the end. Really nice. The guard shape here does mean that it's a little hard for people that like to get really close to the blade for the work they do. I don't know who that is, but some people really enjoy that. You are a little bit back from the cutting area. And because it's thumb stud deployment, which, by the way, these are gorgeous thumb studs. Just beautiful. As some other people and other reviews have mentioned, the thumb studs are in the very trailing end of the cutting path here. Some people don't like that. So really, you're cutting forward of the thumb studs. So you lose a little bit of the cutting edges, particularly for long push cuts. In my time with this knife, that has not been an issue. But I suppose if you were doing maybe game or something where you're really digging the knife down into wet, gooey stuff, it might get hung up. But for me, it has not been an issue at all. The edge is done beautifully. It has a really nice sharpening choil. The plunge grind is perfect. There is no smile on mine. It comes to just a nice level edge. The edge is relatively even. Up here at the very tip, it's actually ground a little farther back on the clip side than it is on the show side. So when you hold it this way, it looks like the blade is doing this just a little bit. But it looks to me like that means that it was done at the end by a person. And I'm okay with that. I love this knife. Really, I've wanted a Spartan for a really long time. But like many of us, you know, money is real. So when they came out with a budget line, I happily jumped on it. Now, this is kind of a weighty knife. Let's go ahead and figure out how weighty, shall we? Keeping in mind that I like a heavy knife. I like to know when there's a knife in my pocket. And actually, before we wait, I want to talk a little bit more about that infused bushing system in the pivot. The action on this thing is really good, right? I mean, it's just, you can, if I'm not looking at it, I can middle finger flick it. On the close, however, it doesn't drop shut. Just wanted to point that out. And that has to do with, first, this is still very tight because it's new. It's only a couple of weeks old now. But also multiple styles of bushings, the different kind of pivot. It just isn't a drop shut knife, which is something that you might want to keep in mind. All right. 5.1 ounces. That's a heavy knife for that blade size. I'm okay with it. Again, I prefer a hefty knife, and 5 ounces is nowhere near the heaviest of knives that I carry. The Benchmade Presidio here is also 5 ounces. I think this is 4 and a little bit. Yeah, this one's 4.5. So it's not, you know, in comparison to other sort of hard-working knives, it's not that heavy. But if you're going to compare it against something super lightweight, like from a previous review, this, which is the Concept Knives Copperhead, this is very light. But it's a work knife, and it's really not supposed to be that light. Oh, sorry, I had somebody ask me to do grams. So 144 grams. And while we've got it on the table, pardon my arm, let's go ahead and get some blade stock. Now, it looks like it's got really thick blade stock, but I don't think that's entirely true. Yeah, 3.29 millimeters. Reasonably thin, and with this nice high flat grind, it means it comes down to a very nice edge. It's a very slicey knife. The tip is not what I would call, it's not like monstrously robust, but it's not fragile either. If you're going to get into a gas station argument, it will definitely pierce whatever you're, don't do that with your knives. The handle itself is thick. It is 13.6 millimeters, 13.7 millimeters, or just over a ½ inch. So, like I said, though, it's a work knife. The close profile is pretty nice, actually. The close profile on this thing, we're looking at 1.5 inches, which is not too bad. It's when you turn it on its side, the axis this way, and you get a look at how thick that handle is that really starts to tell the story. It's a ½ inch. It's a big knife. But it is very comfortable. It is reasonably priced for what you're getting. The fit and finish on this thing are, well, perfect. And if you're going to do an entirely carbon fiber show side, it better be right. You can't have voids or pits, and there are none. This is just a beautiful knife. Anyway, this is the Spartan Astor. I have been a Therapeutic Edge. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about this or any of my knives, feel free to ask down in the comments below. We'll see you guys next time.